It's Tuesday, October 8th, 2019. I'm a trans man, F to M, 7 years on testosterone, and post-op, and I'm going to watch and react to Trisha Paytas' video on YouTube that she posted yesterday called I Am Transgendered, Female to Male in brackets. So yeah, I'm just going to use my headphones and react because I'm also deaf in one ear and hard of hearing in the other. So here we go.
Hey guys, what is up? Today I am going to be doing a video that people might think is I'm trying to be offensive or I'm setting back like a movement or something like that, but
So yeah, it is offensive when you don't educate yourself and do some research around trans issues and identities, and just go ahead and talk about them. And she says it's setting back a movement. My gender dysphoria and gender identity is not a movement. It's a medical condition that I treat with taking testosterone therapy, and I've had surgeries for. It's classified in Canada under the Mental Health and Diagnostics Statistics Manual, so that purely for the reason to have healthcare coverage to cover the cost of surgeries. Last I checked in 2013, the going rate of bottom surgery was $18,000, and you don't make a lot of money as first a woman, and then as a dyke, and then as a non-passing trans man. It's really hard to get a job, so to pay for a cost as such beyond living costs, it's really challenging, and those medical conditions are they're not a movement. Okay, let's continue. Jeez, 17 seconds in.
I want to talk about this because it's something that I actually have felt for a long time. Someone in the comments will know, like, leave in the comments below, like, someone will know I did a video, like, maybe it was right before I started dating Jason. It was, like, in January of, like...
Okay, now she's talking about being trans is something she felt for a long time. If she felt this for a long time, she would have took steps to alleviate the dysphoria, by binding her chest, by not having female accentuating surgeries. It seems obvious to me she's had her lips Botoxed and things like that. She's clearly in this video wearing makeup and has her hair done and is wearing female clothes, and a bra that's pushing her breasts up. Trans guy experiencing dysphoria would not be doing those things. So yeah, it's probably not something she's feeling right in this moment, and not something that she's been feeling for a long time. So, and then the next sentence she goes on to talk about her relationship, her sexuality with her boyfriend. So people know sexuality and gender identity are two completely different things. Sexuality is a desire that talks about your sexual drive, and that really has nothing to do with your body. I mean, you could have any kind of sexuality, and your body can be any kind of body, and it doesn't dictate how your brain processes attraction. It's two different things. So yeah, let's continue.
2018. Yeah, 2018. I did a video, and I don't know if it's still up, I think it is, where I wanted to be referred to only as T because I didn't know, I didn't feel like I identified as a girl. Now this seems like crazy and weird and shocking because I was born a female, and I'm ultra girly now. I'm very girly, right? Because when I was younger, I was teased a lot because they said I looked like a boy. I had a boy haircut. I had, just stuff I couldn't even control, like just hair on my lip, hair on my face. So people would call me like a man. Like there was one nickname, and it's not even funny. It's not even weird. It's not even like clever. They'd be like, Trisha the Man Paytas. Like I swear, that it sounds like I made that up. Like it's freaking weird. I didn't really get it then. I don't get it now. But they would just be like that I was like a man, and I.
Okay, she's commenting about how she was teased in high school about being referred to as male. That's neither here nor there. I was referred to as a lot of things as a dyke. People would sing that song Man Eater to me. People called me a cannibal, a witch, like all sorts of weird things. It has no bearing on how my brain connects with my body. That's external stuff. It doesn't matter.
I didn't get it other than my lip. I know they made fun of my hair lip a lot.
She makes a little faux pas here. I just want to point out. She says people would make fun of her hair lip. A hair lip is when you have a piece of skin pulled up tight under your lip, like a piece of hair is pulling your lip up. And what she's trying to say is she had hair growing above her lips, like a mustache. So that kind of confusion with those medical conditions, that can be offensive to people who do have a hair lip and need to have facial reconstruction so that they can press their lips together so that they can eat food properly. So, yeah, I wouldn't have kept that in.
And I used to always wear sports bra because my natural breasts were very, like, one was uneven, like, they were hella uneven, and one was really saggy, and one was kind of up. So I always wore, like, sports bras to, like, flatten my chest. And I never liked the attention.
Wanting to wear sports bras because her breasts were uneven. I also had uneven breasts. I think a lot of people born with breasts, they are typically uneven. That's just a fact of human bodies. A good test to do is if you take a picture of your face, divide the picture in half along the bridge of your nose, and flip one side of your face to the other side and pair those together, and you'll see how uneven your face actually is and grows. For example, like one of my eyes is higher than the other, it's slightly bigger than the other. That's just a fact of bodies. That's just how bodies grow. Like I get the feeling that she heard somewhere on an F2M channel that people with chest dysphoria wear sports bras to press their chest in. But here she's talking about wearing a sports bra to even the size of her breast to be kind of, usually becomes like a mono breast, we call it. So it's like more of like things are shifted around so there's a bulge that's even across. That's much different than like being trans and having gender dysphoria. You don't want anything there at all. Like it feels like these protrusions, these goiters are like somehow attached to your body and don't belong. So that's way different than, not liking that one is bigger than the other. Like that's a completely different thing. So I think she's experiencing just some really harsh self-critiques and dislike of her own body as a woman instead of like being trans. Like if you're trans, you would do everything in your power to have a double mastectomy as quickly as possible once you know that's an option of having male chest reconstruction.
Around middle school is when I started like getting breasts, and I started getting like attention from like older guys, like not even high schoolers, but like just grown ass men, and I didn't like that at the time, which is very weird, I know, because now I'm very hypersexual. I'm very much about boobs and like showing them off.
She's getting attention, and now she's hypersexual and all about her boobs. So, like again, a trans guy would be wanting to diminish that. like even the video framing shows that she has her breasts in the picture. Like a trans guy who is having chest dysphoria would probably crop it like about here. Like they wouldn't even want to show it. They wouldn't wear a female t-shirt. They'd wear something very baggy, concealing, and wear multiple sports bras to press that down, or tensor bandage, or an actual binder.
I identify with men better. People always think like there's something wrong with me because I don't have like that many girlfriends. Like I love girls. Like I do love girls, and I love like their sensitivity and all that stuff like that. But that's why I identify more as like a gay man, because I like guys, but I also identify as a guy. If that makes sense. The thing that kind of like stops it is I do love, which a lot of gay men do too. I do love like glam and voluptuousness. So in my head, I feel like I'm a transgender female to male, but also like a drag queen.
Okay, here she's saying she's a drag queen after gay man because she likes voluptuousness and women, like, again, with the sexuality being conflated with gender identity. It's pretty incorrect. You can like whoever you want, any type of body, anybody, any type of person, regardless of exterior, interior, regardless of your exterior, interior. Sexuality doesn't really play into gender identity whatsoever. You can appreciate voluptuousness and female bodies and anatomy and be a trans woman, or be a man, or be a cis woman, or be a trans man. It doesn't matter.
Let me just tell you why I identify as a boy more so, and from an early age. I don't like to be
She's
center
really
of attention.
hitting them like from an early age. It's as if she heard some transition video saying, "Oh, you have to." Because with trans being in the DSM, you used to have to be diagnosed by a psychoanalyst, and their criteria is that you have to identify as being trans from an early age, like early onset gender dysphoria. But she's just using that as a way to validate her. She's talking about sexuality. I mean, she's not even talking about her sense of self and her connection with her body. That's my impression of it.
But in their day-to-day, they're not. They're very like low-key, whatever. That's kind of me. Like when I want to put on a show, I put on the hair.
She's talking about not wanting to be the center of attention. Well, and then putting on a show or not, and putting on makeup and the hair and stuff. Like, I get that. I feel you. Like, I was also a very strong center of attention, being a young girl with long red curly hair, and it's bright red like my beard. Even my beard draws attention because of the color, because it's not common where I live. And like maybe just travel. Like when I went to Stockholm, everybody looked like me. Everybody had pale colored or red hair and was white skinned, or like the majority of people, not everybody, but people looked very similar to me. Whereas where I live right now in Toronto, it's not as common, so I feel like I stand out, but there I felt like pretty invisible. And also I need to say that as a woman, it doesn't matter what you do. As a woman, really, like, I lived for 36 years of my life as a woman, being perceived as a woman. That draws attention. So when you go and shave your head or put on a wig to make it look like you have short hair, no, you're not going to get as much attention because men will think you're gay. They'll think there's a dyke because she has short hair. I mean, it draws less attention. So, like when I shaved my hair off in, I think it was grade 5, and I took on the name Nick actually at the time, which is my name now. I received less attention, and I felt much more comfortable with that, and it's because I didn't fit the stereotypical image of an attractive woman, or I wasn't trying to be an attractive woman. Yeah, so drawing attention or not is again another topic. Like, this could have been 3 videos. It could have been sexuality. The second could have been female identity and presentation, and then the third could have been transgender and non-binary issues.
Girliness goes, like I just never wear makeup. Like, oh my god, if I have like zits on my face, like they just like let them go. Like,
not wearing
and
makeup,
and so I've always just kind of related to guys on that level.
But and then relating to men, because she's not wearing makeup. And I think she's trying to, like, she's pointing to her face and stuff. I think she's trying to say that she's not wearing makeup and letting her zit show in this video, but you can see her, like, eyeshadow, and she's wearing makeup. She's probably got foundation on. She's got lip color on, then lip gloss over that. And she's pointing at a zit that's not there. Like, that has nothing to do with your gender or gender identity. Men wear makeup. Trans guys wear makeup. Like, I've worn makeup. I'm a very passing trans guy, and I've had, you know, times where I didn't feel comfortable with my skin, the texture, the darkness under the eyes, and I've worn concealer before. So, or like, that has nothing to do with how you perceive or feel in your skin, in your body, how uncomfortable and awkward your bulging breasts like make you feel, so that you need to go like this and walk around like this all day because you want to hide them, and you're so extremely uncomfortable with your proprioception of your body, where your body is in relation to the world and yourself. I still have dysphoria of certain areas of my body because it's not male, so you're never completely, if you're not born that gender you desire to be as a trans person, it takes a long time to change everything, and even then you get nerve damage, and or nerves can't be connected where they didn't exist, so it's not a complete process.
Attracted to guys, but not straight guys. I've always been attracted to gay guys.
Being
So
attracted to gay
like,
men has nothing to do with gender.
And then when it comes to girls, like I admire girls' beauty so much, and I just like think girls are so beautiful to like look at.
You can admire girls and
But and like straight guys like kind of turn me off. It's very weird.
Straight
Like I
guys turn
hate
on
like
people
over
off.
masculine energy. So like as a girl, I just never really related to that. And then the final thing that kind of brings it full, I feel transgender almost, is I've always had penis envy. Yeah, where I just, this sounds so crazy to say out loud, but like I've just always thought my life would be easier if I had that part. That if I asserted myself, I wouldn't be a bitch, but I would be like a man.
Okay, jumps from talking about penis envy to being assertive. I don't know what those two things have to do with each other. Just trigger warning, it's not, they can create sensation in the area, but they can't make it more than deadened skin from your arm. So, like, I would need it to be the maximum amount of sensation that my body can feel coming from that area, because that's how it is naturally. My desire for a neurologically fully functioning male phallus, and my penis envy for other, like, yeah, kind of envy males for what they have, but I'm comfortable with where I am with it. It doesn't upset me or anything, like, it just, that's how it is, you know, like, has nothing to do with, like, she talks about assertiveness, so how a person acts has nothing to do with, like, I'm not, like, assertive because I have a beard suddenly, like, I'm not, you know, more confident because I wear a sports bra, like, I mean, with transitioning, taking hormones for 7 years, it's made me more comfortable in my body, so I'm more able to connect with the world around me, not necessarily assertiveness, but just I'm more comfortable just being myself rather than feeling shame and like I need to hide and being so embarrassed and disgusted by my own body. Like, I don't have that anymore, so I don't know. She's using a lot of stereotypes. It's not cool.
Myself as masculine energy, but because I'm a female and I was born with female parts, people think, oh, she's a bitch. So
She equates being born with female parts being a bitch.
community
That's cool. I don't think people with female parts are a bitch just because they have
and I never knew why.
vagina.
I'm like, well, if you guys, I'm not like, I don't go out and advocate for it, although I would be so down, and I love, obviously I love the transgender community, so like I should be the advocate for it, but what was always stopping.
She says I don't advocate for the transgender community, and then she says I should be the advocate for the transgender community. Saying you don't advocate for the transgender community is like saying I don't like the trans community, but their whole video is about identifying as trans, so what? Like, if you don't advocate for the transgender community, then I think she means she doesn't want to speak for the trans community. So yeah, saying you don't advocate for the transgender community comes across as saying the opposite, that you don't support transgender people. Like, yikes.
So I don't want people to think this is like a trolling video. I've known, like, I've like come out as like gay before, I've come out as bisexual before. And that's kind of why I have issues in general with just terms in general and labels in general, like male, female, gay, straight, but.
She's talking about different things that she's come out as before, as gay and other things. I haven't honestly seen a lot of her videos. I've seen something she did with Shane Dawson, but I don't think I've ever seen her with another woman before. I don't know. She's saying, like, she's not clickbaiting, but then she's talking about how she's been clickbaiting, so what's the point? I don't know.
Views, I would say I'm all of it. And that's why I don't like labels in general. Like, I don't like, and I've dated people who are bisexual, and people are like, well, they're gay because they date guys more than girls, or they're gay, or they're straight. Like, I don't like that you have to be one or the other.
She's saying she doesn't like the terms like gay or straight, so if you don't like those terms, you use the term pansexual or demisexual. That kind of eliminates gender binaries out of the equation. I identify as pansexual and demisexual. Demisexual, if you don't know, is like attraction to a person's mind. It's beyond gender, beyond the exterior. Because for me, that's where the attraction is who they are beyond gender or their physical sex. So she's trying to say she identifies as everything. That's not something you can do because it disempowers people who choose a straight identity or who choose a gay identity. If somebody needs that identity to identify as that, and that's, they fought their whole life to come out as gay or to remain as straight, even though people see them or perceive them as gay, then you're discounting a lot of lives there by saying that you don't agree, that you don't support that identity, that you're conflating it and saying it's not valid by saying like, hey, I identify as everything on the whole spectrum. Well, if you're LGBT, then you're not straight, and if you're trans, you're not cis. Like, the oppression that one group is forced upon another, that the straight community is historically forced upon the LGBT, or that cis people have historically forced upon transgender people, causing their oppression, causing their death, them being jailed, for them being murdered, for them being given death sentences, and still is on our planet, you get taken to jail, taken to a mental institution, or given the death penalty, or just downright, like, people break into your house and kill you. Like, you can't discount those identities and not give them validity and the recognition that those lives deserve. So many people have died. We're hitting almost number 20 in the Americas that have died within this 1 year. Like 1 in 12 trans black women are being murdered just because they're trans. And the normal murder rate is 1 in 18,000. You're in the 1 in 18,000 chances of going outside and being murdered that day. And trans women of color have a 1 in 12 chance of survival. That's some pretty serious statistics that you're really screwing around with some serious stuff here, okay? Gotta be careful about that.
There are some who transition fully, and then there are some that only transition partially, and then there are some that don't necessarily transition at all, but just choose to identify as a different gender. And I think I'm more of I just choose to identify as a boy. And I don't, and I know this is where it's going to get a little scandalous, I don't love pronouns like they and them, because that's super confusing, I think. Personal opinion, and that might be unpopular opinion.
And it's a personal opinion. Okay, I give her kudos for saying it's a personal opinion. I also, early into my transition, was uncomfortable with the term they until I had read about 15 books about being trans. Yes, it is historically used as a plural term, meaning multiple people, but it has been claimed and switched around the same way as queer has been claimed and switched around to be a term for being proud of your non-binary identity. So you're entitled to your freedom of speech and personal opinion, not to use the term they for yourself, but don't tell other people not to use they, especially for people who are non-binary and identify as with they pronouns, because they may not identify with their gender assigned at birth. They may not identify with their physical body and have gender dysphoria. Their gender identity and their mental state may be differently gendered than their physical body. And so using the term they may be highly accurate for people who are non-binary. So just because you don't want to use the term they for yourself, don't refuse to use the term they for somebody who prefers that pronoun, and don't discount it or belittle it because somebody else identifies with the pronoun they.
I know Sam Smith recently is like, I'm a they or something. That sounds like plural people. And while people think I'm schizophrenic and have multiple personalities, like I choose not to identify as multiple personalities. So I get it, but
here she says, I choose not to identify as multiple personalities. This is plays into the medicalization in a negative way, mental health discrimination of transgender people. When you pair multiple personality disorder on one side with being transgender, you bring together two very different mental health issues. People with multiple personality disorder, I personally don't know a lot about this, so I don't claim to speak for that community, but they're very different issues from gender dysphoria. When you have gender dysphoria, it's a mind-body separation, a dysphoria, and having multiple personality disorder is more like a parallel, I'm assuming. I can't really speak to it, but there are two distinctly separate mental health issues.
I think, like, I don't think you have to necessarily choose one gender. I think you can be a guy some days, and I think you can be a girl some days, and that's how I feel. So while I love the term, like, girly and femme, I think that applies to me as a gay man. The problem with identifying as a gay man when you have female body parts is that you're not going to be able to fully satisfy yourself by being with a gay man. No, nor am I going to be able to satisfy a partner, like a gay man partner. And that's what's frustrating, and I think it's frustrating.
She's talking about not being able to satisfy herself or a partner as a gay man with a female body. The impression I'm getting is that she's more concerned about satisfying sexually her partner. That shouldn't be your reason for transitioning or identifying as becoming trans. It should be about you, your mental health, your sense of gender dysphoria, and how to work towards alleviating that dysphoria with your general practitioner and or counselors and your hormone replacement therapy therapist. Sexual pleasure, it's kind of a separate thing from, like, for me it doesn't come into play as a trans person feeling dysphoria with my body. I would feel dysphoric if I were on a desert island and there was nobody else around and I had no access to hormone therapy or SRS surgery. I would still feel dysphoric. I still have slight dysphoria sitting here alone in my apartment by myself. There are aspects of my body that are gendered that I feel dysphoric about. I still feel dysphoria even though, like, I've been on a few dates, but I haven't had a relationship in 7 years since I've transitioned. And before that, like, my last relationship was in 2008, and I was in an extreme, my lowest point in feeling gender dysphoria and needing to transition, and I stepped away from that relationship because the dysphoria was so bad. Like, I couldn't identify my brain with my body. It just wasn't, like, I couldn't feel comfortable. It had nothing to do with desire for sex or my desire towards other people or other people's desire towards me at all.
I went full transition and got the cards and everything, and I said, hey, I was actually born a female. That would turn off a lot of guys as well. And I know this because I've talked to guys about this. I've talked to gay guys about it, straight guys about it. And I get it.
Yeah, if you were born a gender other than you're presented right now, some people assholes would have an issue with that because they're assholes. So, like, you gotta meet somebody who's not gonna be a jerk to you. Yeah, it's just, get some confidence and say no to people who are treating you poorly. Like, you have every right not to date somebody who's treating you poorly. Like, there's lots of people who are like, if your brother is gay, they'll be like, oh, I want nothing to do with you because you have gay people in your family, and I don't know, maybe my son will be born gay because your brother's gay, or like, there's like some pretty messed up people in the world. So just because you came out as AFAB, assigned female at birth, and now you're a trans man, like, some people aren't gonna have a problem with that. So you're gonna find somebody who's not gonna have a problem with that, yeah. The same as you're getting views from trans guys by putting up this title, like, you're gonna draw attention to that because you obviously put up this title, so, like, there's some people are gonna be like, ew, I don't want to see that, and there's gonna be some people who, like me, I need to make a video response about this as a trans man.
For me, I've been with transgender people, and I've only been with a male to female. I've never been the opposite way around, so I don't actually know what that transition's like. But to me, it's like, it's the same thing. It's not different. Surgery is amazing these days, but you can't even tell a difference, if that makes sense. And I've been with a full transition, and I've been with a partial transition, male to female. And like, it all works the same, feels the same, and when you're with them, you're still getting a woman energy with a different
Transgender.
you know what I mean? So I think it's more important to be open, and I'm not saying the world needs to be open. I'm saying with me in my mind, I need to be open. And while my name is Trish, like, I never really identified with that name. I've always actually hated the name Trish. And for some reason, I never liked it, but I just realized now, because it's a female name, and I don't really identify as female. Do I fully identify as male? I don't know. Well, now this past week, I had the societal boy haircut, which is like short.
Here she says, does she identify as male? I don't know. So, no, you don't need to fully, as she says, fully identify as male to be trans or non-binary, but you would know if you have gender dysphoria and don't identify with a female body. So, and now she's talking about her boy haircut.
And I've never felt more freer and liberated in my life. I wasn't getting looks from gross straight men. I didn't have to do...
Not getting gross looks from straight men. Not all straight men give you gross looks. Sometimes they're just looking in your direction because you're female. But when you have short hair, as a woman, in my experience, you get read as a dyke, so, and conventional attractiveness is, long hair on women, and I've heard that in LA it's pretty conventional attractiveness based beauty. People are going to leave you alone if you look like a dyke because you're obviously not going to be straight. I mean, if you're presenting as queer, then a straight guy if they're, decent, and they're gonna respect your projected identity as a lesbian. So of course they're not gonna be checking you out and going after you like they usually would, because they're not attracted to a dyke, right? So they're looking for a straight woman. That's my perception of it, and like I experienced the same thing when I went to having hair down to my butt to having a crew cut. People left me alone. I found mainly because they didn't know what to make of me. They thought I was weird. So yeah, it's a big difference to go from conventional femininity to looking like a dyke. People either just leave you alone or don't know what to make of you, and you start attracting other lesbians. So it's a nice relief to take a break from. I know most cis guys aren't going to have a perception of this and think I'm talking from a cis male perspective, but I'm not talking from a dyke perspective. That the difference between people approaching you based on femininity, and then based on looking like a dyke, and then based on, like, I've experienced the whole spectrum of gender. I looked like a really queenie fag, and I got the most harassment from straight men. For that, I got like attacked multiple times, like to the point of like I'd avoid going outside because I'd get attacked. To looking like a cis passing kind of butch guy. Like, nobody talks to me now. Like, nobody even wants to. And when I try to approach other people, they assume that like I want to fuck them, but I don't. Like, so there's this whole spectrum of societal preconceptions and interactions based on those preconceptions, and she's talking about a lot of stereotypes. And just to be clear, she's not speaking about being transgender or gender dysphoria or gender identity. She's talking binary societal stereotypes.
But while I had that on, no one said anything. I could just literally roll out of bed and just go. And I felt free, and I felt happy. I felt really happy. I was just feeling it more so than I've ever felt glam or anything.
Yeah, if you're more comfortable, like, presenting as a thick boy, as you put it, do it. And that's related to being transgender, of course. Like, if you feel more comfortable in your body and between your mind, body, if you're having dysphoria, if that's what you're trying to describe, but it really has nothing to do with other people's perceptions of you. Like I said, I could be on a desert island and having short hair and a male chest is more comfortable for me in my gender identity than having breasts and long hair. So that's kind of the difference there. You want to focus on your level of comfort within your own body rather than society's comfort with you. You know what I mean? Like, that's the difference between being trans and being influenced by society stereotypes.
And I think it honestly is just a feeling, and I don't want people to like be offended. I don't want trans to be offended, or gay or straight or whatever, by thinking I'm like mocking this or I'm confused. And I know that's such a misconception that transgender people are confused. And it's not that I'm confused, it's that I identify as both.
She's confused.
I just don't necessarily like the term they or them.
You're allowed your opinion of not liking the term they or them. That's covered under freedom of speech. I wouldn't force that on other people who prefer that pronoun. It's not acceptable to dismiss an entire group of people because you don't like their pronoun. And you have a lot of followers, so I wouldn't be putting it out there that it's acceptable to dismiss an entire group of trans people because you don't like their pronouns. It's not acceptable.
So do I think I'm transgender? Yes, 1,000%. Do I identify with my natural born gender? 1,000%.
With this 1,000% do I identify as trans, 1,000% do I identify with my natural born gender, 1,000%. Throwing around the word natural is not very nice. It's not more natural to be cisgender, it is not more natural or less natural to be transgender. You're assigned female at birth. You're either assigned female at birth or assigned male at birth by the doctor who assisted in your birth. Whether that's natural or unnatural, these are kind of terms you don't want to use because it's saying that it's unnatural to be transgendered, which kind of leads to the stigmatism and the condoning of trans being a mental illness that can be fixed. It's kind of like saying you can pray the gay away. It's a health issue. In Canada, it's listed under the Mental Health Diagnostics Manual for the purpose of having government healthcare coverage, like hormone replacement therapy and SRS, sex reassignment surgery. Those are the cures to being trans, is to allow people to transition. I wouldn't throw around the term natural and say that cis is natural or trans is natural or not. The next thing, you can't identify as being both trans and cis at the same time. They are two opposing things. They have opposite meanings, the same as the terms male and female mean opposite things. You're either trans or you're cis. So pick one. You can identify as non-binary under the umbrella of trans, but you can identify as cis while identifying as trans. Transgender means you do not identify with the gender assigned at birth. Cis means you do identify with the gender assigned at birth. So do you or do you not? And so the thing earlier is saying you're not confused. Well, right there is the confusion. You are confused. I think you're confused about terminology for the most part.
Where I'm at, and I feel really free and liberated, and I wanted to talk about this because I think it's important that you can identify as masculine, feminine. You can identify as male and female if you choose. I mean, if you're a man and you love being a man, awesome. If you're a female and loving a female, awesome. But I've never loved being a female. I've never been so excited about being a female. I love the attention I get when I'm glammed and dolled up. But let's be real, I'm basically a drag queen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a show.
You love the attention you get when you're glammed up. And you love not getting attention when you're dressed as a boy.
You can be any gender you want to be. I don't think you have to decide what gender you are. I don't think you have to renounce what gender you are.
You can be any gender, but you're not cis if you're any gender other than cis.
I think I've been insecure in relationships with other females because in my heart, I didn't feel female at all. So like if someone cheated on me in a relationship, I was like, oh, it's because I'm masculine energy. I'm a male, if that makes any sense. So.
People cheat on you in a relationship because they're a jerk, not because of your gender identity. So again, like sexuality and gender identity have nothing to do with each other, and the people you're dating has nothing to do with your gender identity.
I've been feeling really great about, and while yes, I do have like hair extensions back and stuff like that, one day I might just shave it all off and chop it all off to show, like, to be proud of my male side that is in me and inside me, and it's who I am.
I don't know why you would put them back in if you identify as a boy. Like, if you're doing a performance as a drag queen, as a woman for this video, why wouldn't you just put on a wig?
I love being in the LGBTQ plus community. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. And whether that's me as a bisexual woman, me as a gay man, me as an ally, me as a transgender, I want to be a part of it. I want to do more.
As a bisexual, as a gay man, as a transgender. So the first two she names are cis identities. If you're cisgendered, you're not part of the transgender community. So, like, are you trans, or are you, like, she really needs to do a separate video for her sexuality and her gender, and a separate one for her gender identity, you know, because confusing cis and trans is really, like, you have a huge platform, you're just going to confuse the masses about what being trans means, you know, like, because you don't even have a definition.
We talk about more, and it's not necessarily just
Yeah, we need to
a
talk
little
about
group
more.
of people. Like, you have to be LGBTQ, one of those to be in it. You could be all of them, you could be some of them, you could be
You
partial
can't be
that,
all of them.
and it's accepting, and it's all inclusive, and it's not just
You can't be trans and a cis gay guy at the same time.
This can mix a little with that, and this can mix a little with that. Be any gender you choose on any given day. I have some BTS of the day that I chose to be a male Zac Efron. Check it out.
Can you do something with Zac Efron? I worked with him once on a film.
Okay. And I'll see you soon. Bye.
So she does her little I'm a boy stint with Zach on some other channel, on his channel. So I'll be, I guess, watching that next. So yeah, really, for me, it comes down to she's confused cis with trans and assigned female at birth with gender identity, with sexuality, and she's pretty confused about the whole thing, and she has this massive platform that she's telling everybody it's this, it's that, it's this, and at the end she's just saying, oh, it's a big umbrella and we can all be everything, but really we can't, you know. The reason we can't is because of human rights. So to bring about human rights, we need to say that, you know, homosexuality isn't a mental illness. Take it out of the mental health diagnostic manual. When that came out of the mental health diagnostic manual, transgender went in that same year. So it's kind of as if gay men were saying, you know, we're not these strange men who want to dress as women and become women. You know, we're just gay. There's nothing wrong with us, you know. There's issues with that, you know. You gotta label things to give people human rights, you know. You can't say, like, this bag of water, because we're 90% water, is equal to this bag of water, you know, that has rights, you know. You have to say, this woman doesn't have the same human rights as this man because of this and this and this law, and that's how we change it. Say no discrimination based on sex. And we're talking about genitals, you know, like, and that's how we get equal pay. That's how things work. So, welcome to reality, Trish, but you gotta, like, give a definition and say what this is and what that is, because that's the only way we can come to equality. Can't pretend that the binary sex doesn't exist. We can't pretend that race doesn't exist and wish it away, you know, like, we have to label it and say that this, like, so look at this group. this group has human rights, this group doesn't. How do we bring those two things together so that we all have human rights? And so that one group isn't oppressed more than another. That's my thoughts on it. I wish it were as easy as like saying we're all under one big umbrella and we can all be gay one day and straight the next, but it's not really how it works. Sorry. Leave a thumbs up and a like and comment, subscribe if you want. I know it's a really controversial issue, but we should open up this discussion and include actual trans men who have transitioned to this discussion. Have a great week.